All right, everyone, how's it going? This is Endgame once again.
And it's your boy, Port Dog.
And we are here to bring you the new installment of our podcast series, which we're now titling Foray into Foray, where we talk about Star versus the Forces of Evil. Season 4, at least the first part.
Yeah, the first 8 episodes or so.
That we're getting in March, and I guess it is March now, so about a week left.
Welcome to March.
Welcome to March. So a lot of stuff has been happening in the past month or so with regards to this show. We've got, well, before this, we had 2 different clips from episode 1 that were at San Diego and New York Comic-Cons respectively. We recently had a series of, a leak isn't the right word, but a background designer and special effects artist from the show had apparently put up a portfolio of his stuff on a public blog spot in August.
And it took us like 7 months to find it.
And it was like some Russian people that were looking for stuff for a different Disney show that found it. But either way, it contained some shots and backgrounds from various episodes, some of them pretty deep into season 4. Some of them had like episode numbers on them, others didn't. But there's some interesting stuff there.
Yep, certainly.
Even if it's not all of us relevant to right now.
Yeah, and then we had 3 promos, the one from Japan.
Right,
and then the 2 from that were recently released in
one of them
English.
aired on Disney Channel, the other one was posted on Disney XD's social media. Yeah. We have both of them. So there's a good bit to talk about. We have synopses for the first 2 episodes and not for anything past that. As of right this second, we still do not have anything beyond 1, which is really interesting. I think this is the first time that it's, at least in my experience watching the show, that it's taken this long.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
In season 3A, Disney Channel themselves released a set of official synopses like 2 weeks in advance for each, week of the bomb. So we kind of had them, we had a lot to go off of pretty early on. This time around, and then in 3B, we didn't have that. But as soon as an episode went up on a TV guide service, like Zap2It or TVGuide.com, they would have it, which would be 2 weeks in advance. And right now, the episodes are actually listed on Zap2It for week 2, but the synopsis is still just a general description for the show.
Which is completely inaccurate, because it's like the season 1 and 2
Star Butterfly comes to Earth to live with a family, which, I don't know about you, I don't think that's going to be happening.
Yeah, I expect the vast majority of season 4 to take place distinctly not on Earth.
Yeah, we'll get to that, because
we'll get to that.
Right. So, just real quick to recap what we know so far. They also released all of the titles for every episode.
Yeah.
So, we're getting 2 episodes, and keep in mind, Star versus an episode is considered a 22-minute chunk. So, an episode can be split into 2 distinct segments, which have their own titles, their own plots, all of that. Or it can be a singular 22-minute, cohesive episode. But for our purpose, episode is going to refer to a 22-minute block regardless, and a segment would be if we were only picking half. So, or we could say episode 7A. That's the first half. Fine.
Sure.
So the titles we got right now are Butterfly Follies is both parts of episode 1 is just Butterfly Follies.
Yep.
Escape from the Pie Folk, another 22-minute episode right away, and episode 2, that's week 1, next weekend, March 10th. We've got Moon Remembers and Swimsuit, as well as Ransom Graham and Lake House Fever for week 2. Yep. Yada Yada Berries and Down by the River, as well as The Ponyhead Show and Surviving the Spider Bites.
And then we got Out of Business in Kelly's Worlds, and then we're going to cap off at least this first 8-episode chunk with Curse of the Blood Moon. There's no word on whether this is actually a mid-season finale or not, but based on being 22 minutes and having a very weighty episode title, it's a direction that most people are thinking.
And if it's not a mid-season finale, that makes it significantly more interesting.
Yeah, that's something.
But overall, last season, if you consider Battle for Muni as kind of its own thing, then the first half of season 3A was 9 episodes.
That's true.
I don't really see 8 being all that much different.
That's very true.
Especially, a lot of people kind of expect that the show finale is going to be at least 2 full episodes, if not 3 or 4, like a big event. So, season, 4B wouldn't really be all that lopsided.
No, it wouldn't.
It wouldn't be that much bigger.
It would basically be like 9 regular episodes and almost just like a
finale.
Yeah. Finale movie thing like Battle for Muni was, if it had been tapped onto season 2, or
something like that.
Avatar: The Last Airbender did like the 4-part finale thing as well.
Very well could be.
Yeah.
So now that we have all of these, let's talk about quickly. Let's just go over the quote unquote leaks real quick. So I should full disclaimer from that. A lot of the information from those leaks is actually not even pertinent until season 4B or later, because this guy, his work was background design and special effects. A lot of his stuff was either, pre-animation or post-animation, but like really early into it. So for the most part, there were some finished products of his own work from episodes. I think the latest one that we got was episode 17 in season 4. We have a confirmed shot from that. It was actually a confirmed frame from animation, which is even more interesting.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty early to me. But either way, so we've got some stuff there. There's some interesting, we'll connect more of it later because there are some things that contextualize stuff from the promos that, inform us what shots might be from what episode.
Yeah.
A couple interesting things just to keep in the back of your head are there's one shot that doesn't have an episode place to it where there's like a special effect of some type of like magic beam and it's coming from like 6 glowing green hands. So it looks like some type of butterfly form, but that might not be stars because we don't usually see green with her.
No. Could be Ludo's butterfly form.
That would be something, all right.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it's the same green, but you never know.
Not really. We've got. I think
you never know.
The only. I mean, a bunch. Obviously, as just fans of the show, I find a lot of this stuff. And there's a lot of design stuff in there that's just cool to see.
Yeah, it's definitely cool to look at. Stuff from the production of a show.
Yeah, as far as things that are just of actual interest, things that we might be able to learn something from. I think there was a shot from episode 11 or 12 that looked to be in the underworld. There was a shot from episode 16 that shows Marco on an Earth beach of some kind. And then there's one in season 17 that shows Tom in some kind of like punk rock outfit coming through a portal to Earth. And then there's another shot that shows him and Star in Marco's house, and he's like burning up his furniture and starts trying to stop him or something.
Yeah, that's something.
It seems like some kind of joke. Like the general idea, it's Tom's not looking angry there. It's I think a friend of mine had like a friend of mine, very brief tangent, was one of his ideas for it that I would fucking piss myself laughing if this happened, would be if it was like a Meet the Parents type trope episode, except with Tom and Marco being like bros. So his thought was we were cracking jokes about Stark, and like on Earth it's on Earth we like giving people warm welcomes, and then Tom is like warm, and then starts lighting furniture on fire.
That'd be pretty good.
That, and while Marco's getting ready for the concert or something, or taking care of his brother, because Marco Jr. should probably be born at that point.
Right.
I guess we don't know Marco Jr. is a boy technically.
We don't. I only am okay with the baby being named Marco Jr. if it's a daughter. Because that'd be hilarious.
That would be incredibly funny.
Yeah, what if they just name it, what if it's a girl and name it Turnina?
That would be something, alright.
That would be something. That poor child would get bullied like no other.
Or they rename it like Estrella, like Spanish for star.
Fair enough.
That'd be a big meme.
That'd be a hot meme, yeah. Alright, so...
there's some other stuff from the leaks, but some of it's going to be relevant to what we're talking about later. So
yeah. Alright,
now...
Kick off the first episode?
Right, so we should talk about promos first. Right?
Oh, yeah, promos. Those exist.
Some very general brief, we'll get into what happened, and then we'll talk about where it might fit in later, theories. But what happened, the promos for the most part were pretty... it wasn't really trying to sell any particular idea, right? Like
a lot of fast cuts.
Right, back in season 3A, we got a bunch of promos that were edited with the explicit intent to tell a story, with the intent to try to make the audience believe something was happening. In some cases, they actually were kind of accurate. The What is Calling Star, the promo that was like not using clips, that was like an actual animation, like artistic edit type thing with sound bites, actually kind of ended up not being totally misleading. Like there was the Uber Deform thing calling Star in 3A. It did talk, Marco did leave, and Tom and Star reconnect. Like all of this stuff was in the promo, and it wasn't really selling anything. And then you got the Goodbye Marco promo that showed him and Jackie. Like that was very clearly trying to sell a very particular idea, which ended up kind of being the opposite of what happened, right? I mean, at least, the end of that episode, T and Jackie break up, they go home, etc. But this one was just kind of a fairly surface level, just, general hype for the show. Like, here's a bunch of cool, flashy shit and, funny scenes that might get you interested to watching, not trying to, troll the hardcore fans and make them think something specific is going to happen.
Which is not something I'm a big fan of, so I'm glad they're not
for the most part,
to do that.
Yeah. And also, I mean, you never, the other thing you got to consider, which is, the move to Disney Channel, right?
That's very
It's a big thing overall, and I think, from what it seems like Disney XD, or at least their marketing team, still kind of has a little bit of the control over running it. I mean, there's a promo that was only posted on Disney XD's social media, and it sounds, it kind of sounds like their offices are still kind of the ones managing stuff, but it feels like, to me, that this kind of makes more sense with Disney Channel style, right? Disney XD was sort of made for, invested, savvy, teen and up audiences, right? I mean, Gravity Falls was a huge smash hit there, and that was very much a type of show that, it was constantly working off of its relationship with its core audience.
Yeah, that was the thing that really elevated that show from good to a lifetime favorite for a lot of people. It's that whole interaction thing, and did an ARG after the show ended, and yada yada.
Exactly, and the Starverse isn't quite like that as a show, but the marketing on XD played to that same demographic, right?
Yeah, no, definitely.
And Disney Channel is, I don't expect the mainstream marketing, promos on the channel to work that way. Because promos on the channel, this is,
They're trying to sell a mood, not the story.
And they're trying to sell, the people that they expect to be watching the channel just as a regular basis, the people that they expect to be seeing these promos randomly are going to be more, younger kids than anything.
Right.
I'm sure they are aware that this show has a pretty significant following from, teens and older, we're to college or, in my case, grad school level assholes that are just way too into this show for our own good.
Hey, Port, what do you do on Sunday mornings? You hungover? No, I'm watching a children's cartoon on Disney Channel.
At 8 in the morning.
Yeah, I'm not waking up for that.
But hey, it might be out at 3 if you're still up at 3, but we'll see.
Lamau.
Anyway, so yeah, I think it kind of makes sense that the promos aren't really trying to go out of their way to tell a story, but I digress. So, again, we can't really say a whole lot from it. Just as far as what happened, we got shots of Star and adult Marco going on adventures,
which is
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff from Ludo. There was a lot of Ludo.
Yeah.
There was Ludo putting on his old skull helmet, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's something.
There's a whole symbolic thing before of getting rid of it.
Yeah.
And then I think he's with Bird and Spider again.
Yep. And there's also one of him hurtling through space.
And the Bonbon outfit. So
yeah, that was something.
My take on that, there's some interesting stuff I can say about that, but I think the theme of sort of the psychedelic atmosphere that we got in 3D, I think that's going to continue.
I hope so. That episode was a trip.
Because Ludo's whole thing, basically, even though he was the Saturday morning cartoon villain for a long time, his entire character has been all about the self and his own mental, literal mental issues, his family issues, coming into his own as a person. And I think it really makes a lot of sense for his, final leg of his journey to be still more personal. Even if he's doing things, what's actually important is, the personal development.
Yeah, personal growth.
Beyond that, we have some shots of Eclipsa and Globgor. There's some stuff with Moon and River.
There's stuff with Pie People.
Right, yeah. The one interesting thing, we'll get into this a lot more later, but there was a, very brief snippet of what looked of Star and Marco in their Blood Moon outfits dancing under the Blood Moon's light. And it's the poses and everything that's in it are not something from Blood Moon Ball, the episode. First off, it is a reanimation. You can just tell very clearly that it was not a shot from Blood Moon Ball.
Yes.
But even the poses and actions they're doing never even appeared in the episode. Meaning, if it's a flashback of some kind, then it's a flashback to some portion of their dance that the camera didn't show in the episode, which there was a couple second windows that went to Tom. There was a part where Tom is at the organ and then he looks back to the crowd and sees Star dancing with him. So there were a couple seconds in there between when they start dancing and
that would
dancing.
still just be a weird call.
I'm just saying that there are a couple of points where we don't explicitly see every move they're making in the dance, but still. And Star's face is really hard to see, but her facial expression looked kind of different too. Before she was sort of in a complete daze, and this time she looked a little bit just happy. So
right, and we'll definitely spend plenty of time talking about that episode.
Just in the general, that's gonna be when you see that. That's gonna be before you even think too carefully about analysis. You're just gonna see that and be like, oh, what the fuck, Blood Moon. So we just want to get that out of the way for anyone curious. We've done a lot of myself and my good friend Sedem have done a ton of work doing animation studio analysis, trying to just get the details, figure out.
And while these people have been doing that, work or whatever, I've been working on the truly important things, and I've deduced what I think is the most important clip from all the promos.
All right.
And that's Jenna in Quest Spy with hundreds of Marcos.
Okay.
This is very important, because essentially this is going to allow to happen here. Jenna now has a nigh infinite quantity of Marcos that she can sell and or rent to the highest bidder. And using her newfound wealth, she's going to found her own kingdom and overthrow the Mumin royal family. Janna is going to be the main villain of season 4.
I can really get behind that.
Yeah.
It would be some really stellar, a lot of fans have been wondering where Janna's going to go as a character, because she was only really present once or twice in season 3.
Yes,
and
unfortunately.
And even before that, I mean, we kind of got her a little bit, but she was just kind of there, and people were thinking, like, look at Tom, for example, right? He was only around a couple episodes in season 2.
Mm-hmm.
He did actually have, some character growth where the others didn't, but still, you look at that and you're just like, okay, well, we've got this character who we're just kind of introducing him now. We're seeing a little bit more of his personality, and then he actually went places. A lot of people, weren't the biggest fan of every episode involving him, but from start to finish in season 3, Tom actually did, undergo a lot of personal development, went somewhere as a character. He changed a lot. And Janna and Pony and I guess even Kelly kind of changed a little bit, but
she's some growth.
Janna and Pony especially, they don't change. They just kind of exist to be themselves, which is fine. But a lot of people have been thinking, Janna's in the intro. Is she gonna become like a Tom type character that actually goes somewhere? So I really approve of this general type of theory that could give.
Also, after Tom Star breaks up, Tom and Jen are going to start dating, and they're going to rule the entire Mumin dimension as king and queen.
I like it. I like it.
And they have a sex dungeon in the basement. Don't worry about it.
This is definitely true.
Yeah, that's actually canon.
Yeah, that's there's just no disputing it, really.
Yeah, that's just canon.
So anyway, now we kind of have the general idea of what's going on established. So let's talk about what all this actually means for the season, where we came from, and the general idea of where we're going forward from here, right? So, there's a bunch of different things that we can talk about here. Let's start with Ludo, I think, just because that's an interesting one, and I think it's something that, can be a little bit more fun to speculate, something that maybe people, with a lot of these other things, people got some really strong opinions about where it should go. People, there are some people that I would say are just patently wrong about, where
certain
we are
topics.
Now.
Yeah.
But Ludo is a case where I think we can all agree that this is just something it's going to go somewhere.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I don't have much idea.
We don't really know where it's going to go, and it's fun to think about.
And I'm very excited for where it's going to go. Because, the bits of Ludo that we did see, in season 3 for the most part, are some of my favorite episodes. Even going back to season 2, Ludo in the Wild is still probably one of my favorite single episodes of the show, because it's just so, unique and interesting and does, such cool storytelling. And then, Brother, Where Art Thou? It's just an acid trip, and I have no idea how they got it on Disney Channel at all.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful.
That episode's bonkers.
And so basically, the thing with Ludo that's great is that, he was a Saturday morning cartoon villain for the first season, and he accomplished nothing doing it.
Yeah.
And then in season 2A, he was accomplishing things, but it really wasn't himself. It was basically just, he was applying his incredible tenacity and stubbornness, but was being directed by Toffee, so the plans weren't really his, right? And that was the whole culmination of Battle for Immunity, which a lot of people don't like, because Toffee was built up through this indestructible thing, and then Ludo killed him with a pillar. And without really, okay, fine,
funny,
there's some different angles that you can look at that entire scene from, but if we're just gonna look at it from the Ludo angle for a minute, right? The whole thing about, a lot of people always focus on just the, Star being, the she's gone line from Toffee, and then Marco punching through the chest, and Moon, hand-to-hand combat, and then not, this, trying to use the spell with tears in her eyes. But also Ludo's thing about the end, did I don't remember the exact quote, but it's did I have any part in this? Or, did I do anything to cause this? And Toffee goes, no. And it just breaks Ludo's heart. Because to me, that's just as powerful of an individual character moment as any of these others. It's disconnected, but Ludo's whole thing has been about his self and his agency and overcoming his own issues, and everything that he's done up to this point has either gone nowhere or hasn't even been him. And then season 3 really just, we only get a little bit of him, but he's it dives super hard into the working on his own issues before he can go anywhere else. And now in these promos, we get a bunch of clips of him, there's one of him hurtling through space with the Bonbon outfit, which is, probably more of a psychedelic type of stuff. But there's also stuff of him putting on his old skull helmet and riding, Bird and Eagle, or Bird and Spider again.
Which is great, because Ludo X Spider is the 4th best ship in the show.
Probably, yeah. So, we've now got like Ludo, action shots that are like him sort of taking up something resembling his former mantle a little bit, which is really interesting because it feels like we're kind of turning the corner into like him maybe actually accomplishing something. And, we know from the end of Ludo, Where Art Thou that like the next big thing he needs to tackle is his issues with Star and Marco, kind of going back to the beginning, right? Which is really cool. I have no idea where it's going. I mean, I think by the end of the season, I think it's safe to say, they've planned for this to be the last season. They've said, Darren is on record on interviews as saying this season was written to be the end. Like, it's not going to be one of those cases where it ends on like a, unresolved cliffhanger and then the show just gets dropped. It's the last season. They planned it to be that, and it has a coherent ending to the story. And, we don't know 100% how long that this exact sequence of events has been in the making. What we do know, though, is that when Darren was writing season 3, she actually said in an interview recently on YouTube with like an animation network or something like that, that she had finished writing and doing the animatics for most of season 3B before even knowing a 4 would be greenlit. And she knew that it would be incredibly risky. Like, she was 100% aware that she needed a season 4 to make season 3 work. And that the ending of season 3, if that were the end of the show, would have been awful. And she said that if she didn't get season 4, she was prepared to fight tooth and nail for an extra 22-minute episode after Conquer to, like, just clean. It wouldn't even be it would just be cleanup. It would just be...
And you know what I had to call that?
What?
That'd be a big yikes from me, dog.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree. But it's interesting because she talked about using the fact, she... In the context of the interview, she specifically mentioned the thing with Eclipse and Meteor at the end as like the cliffhanger that she actually went into her meeting with like executives about getting a 4th season, using that as a weapon, being like, hey, this is what the end of season 3 is like. You don't want your goddamn show ending like this. Give me another. But the thing about this, it's great. Like, I respect the balls
nuts,
I respect the balls on that woman.
There's some cojones.
But I will say, even though she was talking about Eclipse in this context, there are other aspects that are very, very clearly
needing a 4th season.
Needing a 4th season, right? And I'm sure Darren is a smart woman. If there's one thing that I've learned from all of her interviews, she is insanely cognizant of her own personal PR, her own personal branding. She's insanely cognizant of not, giving away any sort of games, of not, telling anything that she shouldn't, as far as like, giving, she wants to really, I appreciate this to an extent, and I understand totally why she does it. She wants to aggressively present herself as someone that has no real stake in any one thing in particular. She's very welcoming of all fans for all reasons, which is wonderful. I think that's great.
Yeah, that's good.
But it leads to, there are certain topics that she just doesn't, she would never even mention on the side, because even her bringing it up would be seen by some as biased or taking a side. So it makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
And, you get the downside of it where there's some stuff where, it took her nearly a year to even say anything positive about Booth Buddies, which was a really great, it was nominated for an Andy Award for writing,
It's a good episode.
It's a really good episode. It's one of their peaks of character writing, which is already a strength of the show.
Right.
And, just because of the controversy surrounding it and not, Darren coming out a day after the episode ended and saying, Booth Buddies is my favorite episode ever.
Because they smooch.
Yeah, I understand.
Now, Endgame came out and said that.
Yes, but I understand why Darren doesn't want to say that. But at the same time, it leads to cases where when she's talking about why she's excited for the show, what she's hyped about, what she thinks they did best or what fans should expect in the future, there's really, kind of toothless, where she can't or won't actually talk about things that are good in the show, because if she says, hey, Star and Marco's relationship development is a good part of the show and you guys should look forward to that in season 4, even if she doesn't say anything more specific beyond that, that's already giving away part of it, or people would see it as her giving away part of it.
Or people would see it as
buy
the
it.
evil Disney managers forcing Tom Star to die.
Yeah, so,
As we all know, that's what happened, actually. I was there.
Yeah, exactly. But, I get why she doesn't say it, but point being, it's really interesting to kind of see that she was so cognizant of, she planned this out, right? Like, by the end, but writing season 3, she knew that it would not be satisfactory. And this is extrapolating a little bit, but, a lot of fans kind of got the idea that season 3, some people found it totally unsatisfying as a whole. A lot of people found it sort of less that it was unsatisfying and more that, it wasn't, it wasn't like the peak of the show, or if it was very clearly building up to more. Like, it was all it was a lot of, drama and awkwardness and tension and, seriousness that was building up to, a bigger, payoff and resolution. And the season, it gave a payoff, but it wasn't like, there's two types of payoff, right?
They gave a payoff to part of the stuff they built up.
Yeah, but there's like, there's payoff in like a catharsis sense, and there's payoff in the sense of like, we can actually move forward from here, right?
Yes.
Like, I think season 3 gave a lot of catharsis to most of the things that, were awkward and tense and that went wrong in the season, mistakes people made. I think within season 3, it did most of that by itself. Right? But
that's fair.
Beyond that, it's like, okay, we got, there's much stuff that went wrong, and then we got the catharsis for it going wrong, but it still feels incomplete unless you actually get to see people learning and moving forward long term from it.
Because what happened was, we had most of the plot, a lot of the plot things that wrapped up, like the whole Meteora Eclipse out, like we got it, it moved to the next stage, but the relationship stuff got so much more complicated as it's moving towards resolution, but didn't actually get to a resolution.
Yeah,
it just got to like
it got to the catharsis part. Right?
It got to a catharsis where it resolved
the emotional
tension, but didn't actually like fix the issues that are causing it. So things are better, and as a fan, you're not like, oh my god, they didn't end it. I'm sitting here like on the edge of my seat still. But, like, that it still has not gotten to the next stage yet.
Exactly. And, honestly, I would say Eclipse and Meteor kind of, the plot went the same way, where the catharsis of the, political stuff and Star feeling like she didn't deserve to be a princess. Like, we got the big, climactic moment of her giving away the wand, but it's like, okay, great, now what? Like, clearly there's a fuck ton more to come from that, It makes sense. Like, Darren's a smart woman, and knowing that, all of this was intended to be, it was a, coherent season in itself to an extent. I wouldn't say it was perfect, but it definitely, it had all the elements, beginning, middle, and end to the arcs in a season. But it was all really clearly being like, okay, all this shit's going wrong, and now the whole point of it is so that we can show what happens after. Like,
right.
So, now that we got that, let's break it down. We talked about Ludo. Let's look at some other specifics for just where we're at now and a general idea for where we're going to go forward. So let's go to Moon next, I think.
Sure.
Right? So within season 3, we had Moon kind of learning a lot more about, that her family wasn't infallible.
Mm-hmm.
Learning, she was still, Star was the one kind of from the beginning being like, oh, you're treating Eclipse badly. Moon was not like that. But Moon, by the end, was getting to the point where she wasn't trusting Eclipse, but she was working for the general good of justice. She was... Yeah,
I think she was working towards truth. There was a lot of learning about, like, what actually happened as opposed to what, they were told happened.
Exactly.
With the whole, library archives thing and
Butterfly
trial.
Yeah, exactly. Butterfly Trap.
Which was nuts. That episode was nuts.
Exactly. So, we had that, and then, in Tough Love, the last time we really kind of saw Moon before getting, like...
Whacked.
Whacked. Mind whammied.
Yikes.
She was still distrustful of Eclipse and Meteora. Like, she wasn't, totally on her side, but she was still looking out for truth in general. So now here's what we got, is we now know that, she went to the realm of magic, she got basically her soul half sucked, the butterfly form, kind of...
Suck?
Exactly. Please don't do that.
That's fair.
It saved, her butterfly form, like the weird golden eye thing that Star had in Battle for Immunity, that the final Muberty form. I think it has a name in the spellbook. The spellbook actually talks about, like, all of the different features. So, just as a quick context for any of you that have not read the spellbook yet, the spellbook goes into detail about the Muberty form, and it talks about that all of the different features, like the 6 arms, the wings, the eyes, it's basically, it describes it as like a mix and match. That, like, depending on your emotional state, when you enter it, you'll actually get like a different type of butterfly form with different sets of powers, and there's a special name for those eyes, and apparently it lets you like see through dimensions, which that makes a lot of sense because that's how Sleeping Star was able to cut portals to everywhere in her search for the realm of magic portal,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, but I don't remember the name for it, but you know, she had one of those eyes, the other one was black, and then she went to the realm of magic, and then she didn't have her memory, and then she just got yeeted out by the unicorn, and we don't know where she went.
Yeah.
And now, from what we have, we can piece together a couple things, right? So episode 1, Butterfly Follies, the only synopsis we have is that Star and Marco go search for Moon. Let me see. I don't actually think the synopsis that you have written down there that's actually not the one from. I think that's the like general season 4 synopsis. It's literally just Star and Marco search for Moon. Like the synopsis that we have. So we can unpack that a little bit more later because that's not a synopsis for a 22-minute episode. That's not a synopsis that's going to describe everything happening in a 22-minute episode.
No, yeah, because that's like the framing motif for whatever actually happened.
It's like you know, Bon Star goes to celebrate you know the revival of a dead clown. Like okay,
that's the framing for what actually happens in I guess half the episode because half the episode is you know Jackie and Marco
but still, that's
doing
the point.
dance thing.
It is an accurate descriptor of
some of the plot
happening in the episode. So that's the one thing I'm just gonna go on a very quick tangent. We'll get to this more later.
Do your tangent.
Is with synopses and titles, just one thing I want to let people know is that if there's anything I have experienced in the show is that titles and synopses are accurate, like with an asterisk, where they don't lie. Like a title or a synopsis will not have no relation to what's happening. Like it will not tell you something that isn't happening in the episode. However, they can either misdirect by omission, like Bon was a great example of a title that did that, and a synopsis that did that, right? Where okay, yes, Bon was that was the framework, that was the setting of what Star was doing. You know, Star going off with Jana to resurrect the clown was the plot as it was set up in the episode. But the vast majority of what actually was important was unrelated. You know, it was the Bon stuff was the framework upon which all the actually plot relevant stuff happened.
Yeah.
And then the other kind, which is a little bit more conspiracy theory-ish, is misdirection by context. And I say that, I can't guarantee you exactly how, Darren and whoever else is making these episode titles knows how the fans are going to get them. But in season 3B, we got the synopsis, or the title for Tough Love before the season aired. Like, we got all the titles before it aired.
Right.
So we get Tough Love, and without knowing too much about 3B specifically, just fans knew that, Meteora was a thing. We just learned that she was Eclipse's daughter. We knew that, Star and Moon had some friction between them. We knew that there was the whole family Star and Marco and Tom. So there were a couple different things that we were thinking about for, different arcs that we knew would be important in the season one way or another.
Yeah.
And there was a storyboard artist who, again, this might have just been her, she might not have had any sort of role in this, but she was laughing on Twitter about, just as, without naming any specifics or naming names, she was just laughing on Twitter about people thinking Tough Love would be about something. And, laughing at the fact that, it's definitely not about that. And obviously, in hindsight, it was, people thinking that it would be something relating to Star's own faults, whether that be directly with something like an actual, in season 2, right before the season 2 two-parter finale, we had Just Friends, which was the relationship setup to something explosive happening in the finale. So people were thinking at the time, before we knew anything about the rest of the season, or the rest of the half season, that maybe it would go that way. Maybe tensions would heat up, and then we sort of get that as Just Friends, and then going into the finale, it would be like a blend of relationship stuff and plot with relationship stuff boiling over. And that didn't quite happen, and Tough Love, it was an accurate description, very much so, of the central, climactic moment of that entire episode, with Eclipse literally showing Tough Love to Meteora and, putting her foot down. But it, I could be wrong here, but I have a sneaking suspicion that the title was chosen, at least in part, knowing that fans would be thinking it could be multiple things.
Yes.
And knowing there were...
It gives you a hint, but not a definite.
Well, it's a lot of them give you hints, but I'm kind of taking it farther, and I'm saying I think they did it specifically knowing that there were very specific other things that it could be hinting at beyond what they're doing. It was innuendo in the not sexual sense, but just in the double meaning sense. I mean, I guess it could be the sexual sense too, but tough love.
Ooh. So getting back to the topic of Moon, so right now she's lost, memory's gone, brain whapped, whatever you want to call it, and we know for a fact from episode synopses of 1 and 2 that they are looking for her. And, that continues into episode 2.
They have to find her.
They have to find her.
And then the Japanese promo, we see a shot of Star and Moon baking a pie together.
So,
and then a pie folk guy, like a angry pie chef, busts out of it.
So we assume that they are going to find her either probably in Escape from the Pie Folk.
Correct. Or like the very end, they'll learn where she is at the very end of Butterfly Follies, and then there'll be a transition. Right?
Yeah, something like that.
So as a general, I think basically what we're kind of looking at here, I can sort of provide like fill-ins and details, is for those that don't know, Moon's mother, Queen Comet, was in the spellbook, was very well known to be a chef. That was like her whole thing. She was a very good baker and chef. And that pies were her specialty. And there's actually sections of talking about like making pies with Moon. Like that was an activity they do. So a lot of people were thinking that what's going to happen is that however Moon gets deposited back to Muni, her, amnesia is a pretty common thing where amnesia is either, only recency based or it's partial. So like she'll have like a fleeting memory of her mother and an activity they used to do. So she'll just kind of gravitate, in a world where she doesn't know who she is, she'll gravitate towards something that is familiar to her, which is pie baking.
Sure.
And that, maybe that will be how they, start reconnect. Star might infiltrate them and, bake a pie with Moon, even if Moon doesn't know who she is. And then maybe we'll see Moon starting to,
something about it will spark a memory.
Yeah, and then
it'll all come rushing back and yada yada.
And again, I mean, granted, that doesn't even,
that could just not happen.
And title, 3A is titled Moon Remembers, so like I don't expect Moon to remember.
That's fair.
Or I just thought of this is it could be Moon totally remembers Star in episode 2, and then there's like some experience she had in the realm of magic or between the realm of magic and Muni that like is really important to the plot, and then episode 3 is about her remembering that after she's already like back to normal as a person.
Or Moon Remembers is when Moon remembers that her life that she lived, she didn't actually live that. She's a secret replica of the real Moon who's been dead for like 12 years.
Damn.
I've seen through the lies of Disney.
Damn. So, I'm trying to think of the implications of this. Well,
there aren't any. It doesn't matter. Continue.
It doesn't really
matter.
It
really doesn't matter.
It's basically just like everyone makes a huge fucking deal out of Into the Wand with Star.
Yeah.
But they're all the same. Like, nothing about them warps them or makes them evil. It's just they're Star from slightly different time periods forward and backward. It's the same exact Star that entered the Wand for the same exact reason.
Fine.
If that Star got replaced, nothing actually changes. It doesn't matter at all.
Evil Star theory.
Yeah, none of that actually matters. Anyway,
well, now, all right.
So that's just the general idea. Where it goes from there. What I think is going to happen in general is that, to me, it seems likely that by the end of episode 3 or whatever, one way or another, Moon's time as a character, her personal arc is not done by any stretch of the definition.
No.
So it makes no sense for this type of show, which is so character driven, to sort of spit her out for just for plot purposes. So what I think is going to happen is that, she's going to come back, and she's going to be back to normal and continue as a character after that, but the repercussions aren't going to necessarily be, like, totally related to her character. Like, she's not going to continue life as an amnesiac, but it'll be something that she saw out there that she, like, remembers, or some revelation about the nature of the realm of magic that comes as a result of getting her back is going to be like, okay, we got Moon back, but we learned something new that's haunting for the future, right? There's going to be some meaning to it, but Moon herself is probably going to be okay after not too long.
Yeah, I don't expect her to be...
To disappear as, like,
to be so chained by this that she's almost a different character. I expect her to come out of this maybe having learned something or gained some knowledge or lost some ability, but being generally the same type of person.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I would say that in general, like, I don't expect this whole thing with Moon to radically and completely permanently change the world. Like, I don't expect her to come back and her to be completely unable to use any magic forever and always or something. Like,
yeah, who knows? But I doubt that. But Anyway, speaking of using magic, we've now got a new magic user on the stage with Eclipsa now having the wand and the Throne of Muni, with Globgor and her daughter Meteora, who, I wasn't, going into this season, I wasn't really sure how relevant Meteora would be, and it seems like she's still going to be a baby, but the general idea of Eclipsa kind of being back is, having her daughter again. That's going to continue being relevant, because we get shots of Marco babysitting Meteora while Star's in a princess outfit. We'll do, an episode... not episode by episode breakdown, but talk about putting everything together in a bit. But just, we know now that the idea of Eclipsa raising Meteora again is gonna actually be a relevant part of the season. And the Globgor, there's a couple shots that we have where we see her, Star, and Marco looking up at Globgor's crystallized form. There's a shot of her with a bunch of scaffolding, around the crystal. She's trying to figure out how to break it down or something.
Yeah.
We still don't have, we don't know when he's gonna get busted out or what. It might be related to Curse of the Blood Moon. Who knows, right? But
yeah.
Either way, the general idea here is that this is all gonna be relevant.
Yes.
So, general trajectory for her. Globgor,
we don't know a lot about him, honestly.
We don't know a lot about him. The one thing that we do have was Darren Nefsey has been running, a little, promotional stunt. Not stunt, but basically the... tarot cards from the Book of Spells so there's the tarot cards and then there's the character cards for all the queens that have literal stats like Dex and Con and all that. I don't know if they use Dex, but it's Wisdom and whatever. Okay, fine. That have character stats for all the queens. In the Book of Spells, they're just kind of on the paper. They're not actually cutouts or anything. But Darren had a bunch of these actually made physically, these cards. And then she's been posting on Twitter, leaving them at a specific, a cafe or a bookstore in various places all across the world. And then leaving, coordinates and saying, there's one in Mexico that said, tell Marco said to go here or whatever. Or tell them Marco sent you. And there was one in the Philippines that was tell them Jana sent you. It's just fun, right?
Sure.
And there's one other card that came with all of these, which was Globgor. It was a shot from in St. Olga's in Season 1, the episode St. Olga's Reform School for Wayward Princesses. There's the shot where Star and Marco are running, and they run into a room, and on the floor of the room is a big crescent moon etched into the stone with a star and a sun, surrounded by the crescent moon. Then on the ceiling, there's all of these, demonish looking monsters, flying through the air.
Yep.
Right? So people are oh, that's the big blood moon prophecy being set up. Who knows? But that, because Marco's, for those that don't know, Marco's name in the very, very original concept for the show was Sol, which is sun, right?
Right.
So the star and the sun surrounded by the blood moon, very clear motif.
And then he has moon cheek marks.
Right, yeah, so that's related, that's more related to the blood,
Right, but it's still something in there.
We've gotten some hints for, the blood moon actually is going to be important later. Actually important, not just show up on Marco's date with Jackie.
Yeah.
But, and it's taken a long time to sort of pay up, but, we have hints, right? We have hints.
Yes.
And where I'm going with this is that the extra card that was printed as part of this was that same exact shot from the ceiling of the weird flying monster demon things. And it was Globgor behind them, breathing fire, pushing them forward, or leading, being the spawner of whatever this situation is. So again, this wasn't, this was a set of cards that Darren published herself. It wasn't, this Globgor card wasn't included in the Book of Spells anywhere, I don't think. So, how much specifically does it say? I don't know, but it seems kind of intentional that it was the exact same shot used from the St. Olga's. So it's, there might be a connection between Globgor and the Blood Moon one way or another. So, that might be, maybe he doesn't come, maybe he comes back, in Curse of the Blood Moon, who knows. What we know about him from the Book of Spells is that, at least from Eclipsa's perspective in Eclipsa's chapter, that he seemed to be a decent guy. He was a monster. He was, a general in the Monster Army. He was generally on the side of, we want justice and peace. We don't want bloodshed and fighting. The best way to move forward is to stop fighting. And that Eclipsa, him and Eclipsa felt the same way, but they couldn't make it happen because the Septarians, led by Toffee's predecessor, were constantly, they were the ones that wanted bloodshed, not peace. They were monsters.
Blood for the blood gods.
Yeah, exactly.
Blood for the blood moon. Continue.
There we go. But case in point, what we have from Eclipse's perspective is that Globgor is a decent guy that wants peace, but him and Eclipse woke up, or were both in Crystals for 300 years, and Eclipse woke up and she just wanted her family back.
Yes.
And when she was talking to Meteor and Tough Love, she actually, at least in my opinion, Eclipse has been set up as like this, deceiving person. But I think where they're going with her character is that her emotions are genuine. She has an agenda, but she's not, like sociopathically displaying fake emotions. When she's talking to Meteora and saying that she genuinely just wants her family back, that Moon and Star are actually good people to lead the kingdom, and that we're not the ones that that time has passed. I'm okay with this. Like, what we wanted to happen is actually on its way to happening. So I don't need to lead the kingdom anymore. That should be okay. I think that's genuine. I think that's a genuine, heartfelt thing.
Yeah.
But the thing that's interesting with that is that, her reaction to waking up out of the crystal was, okay, well, I was wronged, but Star and Moon actually really want to make up for the wrong, and I admire that, and I'm okay with letting bygones be bygones moving forward.
Yeah.
Maybe Globgor isn't. Maybe his time in the crystal is, revenge. Who knows, right? We'll see.
Yeah,
but
we'll see.
He might have a different attitude than Eclipse does coming out of the crystal.
Yeah.
And in general, I think, we don't really know a whole lot about Eclipse, right?
Yeah.
But Marco's babysitting Meteora while Star's in a princess outfit for some episode. In the Ponyhead show, there's a shot in the promo of the Ponyheads all dressing Eclipse up into some type of garish outfit.
Yeah, that was an outfit.
Yeah, that was an outfit. So, one way that I think...
I didn't even realize it was Eclipse the first time I watched the promo. I'm like, yo, who's that new character? And everyone's like, yo, it's Eclipse. I'm like, I don't know about that one, Chief.
And then the clips from Butterfly Follies that we have, there's the people, the prison guard is mad that he can't imprison monsters anymore because Eclipse ruled it. There's the Butterfly Follies, the troupe, the actual play itself is called Butterfly Follies, and they're basically lampooning everything that happened in Season 3.
Understandable.
The Butterfly family did to, the Mumins were seeing it as they're incompetent and they wronged them, and they talk about Eclipse too. So, it sounds like, Eclipse going into this is, maybe the Ponyhead show is like trying to get an image, trying to save face and, build up an image, as a good queen. I don't know, but it sounds to me like her general trajectory is, it doesn't sound to me right off the bat that Eclipse really is has bad intentions. From the beginning, she's had decent intentions for the kingdom, and she actually, to some extent, cares about monster meme equality, but it's not, it's sort of a, maybe it's from a selfish place, there were some people thinking that she didn't care at all. Hitafi didn't care at all about actual equality, he just wanted revenge. And people were thinking Eclipse is going to be a step farther, where she does care. Her ideal world would have monsters and humans not, being on equal footing. Yeah. But the reason she wants that is a personal...
Because she liked the cock.
Yeah, the size...
There's no cock like Monster Cock. Send your asshole into shock. Okay, that's enough of that song.
But either, so maybe, it seems to me like a general idea for where she's going is getting her, getting her footing as queen. Thematically, I think it can make a lot of sense for her, she's kind of been set up as sort of a nega star, not evil star, but someone that, has the same free spirit, but not as much moral compunctions about, being,
right. Also, she's also darker and more serious and a little bit, I don't want to say edgy, but
I get
she has an edge to her. Star's generally a lot more happy-go-lucky, yada yada.
Yeah, so it sounds, it would make a lot of sense, I think, if it's sort of set up the same way as what if, if Star's whole thing in Season 3 was sort of immaturity and not, having great ideas but not being able to apply them effectively. She was sort of trying to go through very legitimate channel, getting petitions and all of that. Maybe Eclipse is going to be the other way around. It's just what if I just, basically, what if I threaten humans to be nice to monsters or I'll kill them? That's a little bit extreme, but that general idea of
I'd believe it, honestly.
Still immaturity with regards to how to go about it. So maybe it'll be her getting on her feet and, more some conflict generated as a result of it.
Yeah.
So, but that's a general idea. Right. Who knows exactly where she'll go.
Yeah. And I think that's we can move on to our last general trajectory.
So, Star, Marco, and Tom.
And I'm going to take the lead on this one, so we're not here for 3 more hours listening to Endgame talk
That's
about
fine.
it.
I'll pitch in.
You're allowed to pitch in. All right. So the current state. Let's start with that. So Tom and Star reconnected at Silver Bell Ball,
and then
V2. They went on their corn shake date. We had demonism happen. Yada yada. They're dating. Whatever.
Yeah, and
we don't really see more of Tom before they start dating than after we start dating, which is
and the thing that's really
something.
And the thing that's really important to keep in mind, and this is just something I want to get out there.
All right.
Is that Club Silver Bell Ball, they Star doesn't hate him, but it's just like you're being an asshole, and then she's like, what I need is a friend. If you want to be a friend, fine. And then they dance, and everything is just kind of fixed, and they're like, kind of giving sly eyes at each other after that. And it's an interesting parallel because in Blood Moon Ball, it's actually really intentional, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in Blood Moon Ball, they dance, and then they have conflict afterwards, and Star says, I need a friend, and then they make up and actually end the episode, like, having truly talked out their differences, and, like, set themselves up on a better path forward. In Club Snubbed, they have their issues, which they don't, Star says she needs a friend, again, like, same exact thing, they're on a balcony talking about their relationship. Mirrors. Huh. But, so Star says she needs a friend, and then they're about to kill each other, or they're about to fight, and probably not kill each other. But, it's really interesting that, the dance, it doesn't fix anything, right?
Yeah.
They have the dance, and they stop on it, and they're just like, hey, this isn't so bad. The beginning of Demon System is another huge one, because Star is frantically calling him, like, hey, Tom, let's hang out. Like, you can tell right off the bat that even though, Demon System, throughout the episode, it gives some genuine teeth to the idea of them having something resembling a meaningful relationship, right?
Right.
It's not totally shallow. They have a genuine connection.
Yes.
But it's pretty clear that they have a connection, but the reason that both of them are so willing to drive with that connection, to say, okay, we have a connection, let's date. The reason they just make that leap is because both of them, for different reasons, want/need, right? Tom is still jumping at the chance to maybe have another shot with her. Star is desperate for companionship in some way, shape, or form. I wonder why. And she's specifically desperate for someone who can help her and identify with what she's going through, because I wonder who was the person that used to do all of that stuff for her and that just left without talking about.
Speaking of this third unnamed character.
Before I get that, I just want to say, the important thing that I want to note is that as the season progresses, this is just clearing the air here. Nothing about her dating relationship with Tom is ever portrayed as important to her emotionally or something that progresses her as a character. All we see is that she has no issue. She is dating him. She is totally comfortable, kissing his face in Monster Bash and holding his hand and, goofing off with him. She's totally comfortable with all of that. But it's a background thing. It's the, I am doing these things with him because I am dating him and I don't hate him. I enjoy his company, and that's it. She never goes... There are times when she explicitly goes out of her way to avoid calling on him. She's never proactive about hanging out with him. That is the background element that allows things to happen. There's no point where Star's romantic relationship with Tom is a priority that she's proactively considering in her mind. Right. And that's really important for where we get to, because in Booth Buddies, the whole idea that, oh, I'm just dating Tom, so it's fine, gets blown out of the water. Right?
Yeah, because Lamau.
Because Star is confronted with the fact that things are different. Like, she's built up this idea that, Marco's her best friend and her squire and helping her with life, and Tom is her boyfriend, that if she happens to be in the same room with him, she'll hold his hand. And that's fun. Like, her idea is that that's okay. And
then, they get locked in a booth together. They all get locked in a photo booth, and then they're like,
there's a confession.
Wait, hold up.
Yeah, right. And, Star leans into the kiss more than Marco does. Like, the whole idea is that idea that everything is fine is shattered. And that what we see in Divide and Conquer is one Star, even if she hasn't sat down, there's, her
Right.
mom has gone missing, fine, there's a lot of hugely important shit going on.
It's not priority number one at the current moment.
It's not priority number one, but you see how she really feels about it. And once she's actually gotten over the idea that things are actually fine, and she's actually, her heart has had a chance to actually be like, okay, wait, how do I really feel about this?
Yeah.
Her relationship with Tom, specifically, has developed throughout the season. Monster Bash to a moderate extent, and Is Another Mystery to a bigger extent, actually, she has formed a closer relationship with Tom throughout the season. But the part of it where they're dating is totally unimportant to her. It's there, but it's never considered important. So, when she has moments with Tom in Divide and Conquer, she cares about him as a person, and their relationship is stronger. And same with Is Another Mystery. But the fact, a lot of people mistake the end of Is Another Mystery, where Star is genuinely happy that he stood up for her, and genuinely, glad that he's a supportive ally, and that he's supporting her. They mistake that for oh great, now they're gonna get married, their romantic relationship.
Well, and then Tom immediately self-fucking donks himself.
And that's the important thing about that, is that Tom has this big moment of hey, actually standing up for someone because I feel it's what's right, not because I'm looking for praise.
Which is really good growth for him as a character.
And he actually kind of, he still he botches the speech, but he still approaches it from a place of hey,
it's the right intention.
I not only, I'm defending Star because I think it's right, and also I actually do at least acknowledge the fact that you as monsters are suffering, and that you deserve better. I'm acknowledging that. Even if he goes on about how he's rich. But the way I interpret the whole ending is he has this big moment that just shows him improving in many areas of his character that we know he has problems with. Yeah. And then the very last moment of Did I Do Better Than Marco is showing that specifically the romantic relationship with Star and the comparison of himself as who is he in Star's life. That one last thing is the big obstacle to him. He's still not thinking about that part of things correctly, and that's still holding him back. And then in Divide and Conquer, we see Tom, who never once expresses any amount, I shouldn't say never once, but he never really expresses any amount of concern over Star praising him for his efforts, or him feeling I'm stepping up and being better than Marco. He's just doing it because he cares about his friends. He wants to protect them. There's even a part where he says, "I promised Marco that I would protect you, Star," which is it's a good emotional moment. I agree. I gotta laugh at that a little bit because I'm laughing. Port's laughing at it. I'm laughing at the fact that people.
What I'm actually laughing about is that people in a certain part of the fandom call Marco a beta cuck orbiter, but then going up to your literal girlfriend and being like, "Hey, my male friend,
I told your side hoe that I would protect you for him."
It's almost like Tom's the beta cuck orbiter or something. Anyways,
but the best part, we jest, but he has genuinely great intentions.
Sure,
right? It's him. It's funny on the surface, but in all seriousness,
and it's hilarious. It's even more funny the deeper you go into it.
Yeah, in all seriousness, it's a good moment for all of them, and for him especially, because it is really kind of showing where things should be in a way that makes everyone feel the best, right? Tom is happier, he's getting beaten to a pulp at multiple points, but he's more emotionally fulfilled in that type of moment than he is at any other point earlier in the season. Same with Star and Marco.
I'm gonna step in here.
Okay.
I'm gonna bring up a thing that we say Is Another Mystery happens, whatever. It doesn't really change anything about how Star and Tom's relationship happens. Because the next episode is immediately Star and Marco go fuck off together. And then, Star and Marco fuck off at Booth Buddies. And then Star and Marco fuck in the booth. And then they're not... And then Bamwi Patty is...
But then
whatever.
Divide happens.
Then Divide happens.
And then Conquer's more of the same. So the thing is, booth buddies, if anything, you could say booth buddies is the opposite, because she's holding Tom's hand at the wedding, and then the instant something that isn't holding someone's hand comes up, she fucking ditches him. And
she's like, well, Mao nerd.
Exactly. And, Marco Jr. was after is another mystery, and that was kind of a big one for showing their Star and Marco, like, Star is caring about him genuinely more than ever. That point aside, where I was getting at with this is, where do we end this season, where we go from here, is it's important to know. I just, stepping back here, I'm obviously, I got my fucking picture, I printed out a picture of the Booth Buddies kiss in my 600 DPI on glossy photo paper, fucking took a bus out to New York Comic Con and got it signed by Darren Nefsey and hung it on my goddamn wall. I am the worst piece of human garbage alive. But
and that's why you should stop talking about Starco.
What I'm going to say right now is that I'm not morally absolving Booth Buddies of any problems, right? Like, all of these things aside, about the fact that it broke open a bad situation and can lead to healing and everyone figuring out what's best for them, does not mean that every aspect of it is morally squeaky clean, and that, that it wasn't still Star and Marco kissing while she was dating Tom. Like, that is what it is. Cheating, it is cheating. It's cheating with so much context surrounding it that I personally don't like using that word. Not because it doesn't apply at all, but because the word cheating has such a wide variety of connotations and such a wide range of evil to it. And this situation, this moment falls so far on one end of it that if you use the word and, the meaning of the word that applies is 10 standard deviations from what most people think when they think of the word, even if the word applies in one way, is it really the best catch-all term to use? I personally don't think it is. If someone wants to use it, I won't say it's wrong. But I don't like saying, oh yeah, the kiss was cheating, because then anyone that doesn't have the context of what I'm referring to is gonna think I'm saying something different than what I mean.
Right, so that aside, and I'm the non-Starco shipper here. For those of you who knows me, I'm
going to convert him yet. Don't worry about it.
I'm a dedicated and hardcore shipper of Eclipsa and Hekapu. Don't worry about it. So,
he likes the ass.
If she ain't thick, she get no dick. What can the brother say?
If you're shipping Hekapu and Eclipsa, they get no dick anyway.
Not according to my fanfics. So anyways, that aside, I guess what we're kind of seeing here is, like, as someone who is not let's say, overly invested in this particular relationship dynamic, what I'm expecting nonetheless is that I'm expecting it to happen because it is, to me, in the most simplest way possible, the most logical outcome of the current romantic and relationship situation that is in the show, is that Star and Tom break up, and then fairly soon after, Star and Marco start dating, and Tom is just their friend, and maybe, And
then he's actually, his whole thing is going to be realizing that he's actually just genuinely more happy as an individual, having these strong friendships, and not fixating on Star giving him good boy points.
Yeah, because in my personal opinion, the entire Tom Star thing, everything I get from it is that it is not a good, long-term, healthy relationship. I'm not saying it's an abusive relationship. It's not. It's just not healthy. It's not super functional, and it doesn't do good things for either person involved. I don't want to get into the details of that, because that's kind of based on how real-world relationships work, and no one who watches the show has those, so whatever. It doesn't really matter. All right, so now that we have all of that out there,
where do we go from here? Let's start piecing it together. So let's roll with this, since we just talked so much about this, let's just keep rolling with this one for now, and then we'll get back to the other stuff. So let's look at what we know as far as, like, what things might happen when. So in the SDCC clip, which is Butterfly Follies. We see that Star and Marco are fighting as a team in the prison. They're giving thumbs up at each other. They're
on good terms.
They're on good terms, and there's no real the tension itself broke, and
or is at least so minimal it's
right, and they're actually enjoying. Before it was Marco liked being a squire and like punching things, but now they're actually like a team. They're allowing themselves to actually be emotionally close again. And the other thing that's important is we see Star, she gets knocked out the window, and then the beach day picture almost falls out of her purse, and she's like staring at it longingly before Marco pulls her back through the window. Yeah. That has some interesting implications. A couple things just on that are, first off, as a general rule, if you see something specific like that come up as a detail, you sort of expect it to have payoff within the episode.
Yeah.
One way or another, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing about it is the beach day photo, its importance in the past, people thought for a while, I think it could still come up, the Booth Buddies photo strip that Star took at the end of the episode could still be relevant, but the beach day photo is, to me, it kind of indicates the Booth Buddies was sort of the reminder of like the breaking of the tension, whereas beach day is sort of the forward thing. Like beach day is the reminder of why her relationship with Marco is so good. It's the good times, right? So, in Star Crush, that was the, I've got to tell him because our relationship is so good that I can't, I can't let it break because I don't tell him.
Right.
Something like that. Who knows exactly where it's used, but that is a part of episode 1. The other part that we know is when they go and watch the play, that, there's one by one, the Butterfly Follies cast is lampooning, Star's decision to give Eclipse of the Wand, and saying that, Ponyhead is Star's only friend and all of this. And then the clip kind of ends. But there's a very brief shot that we get in the promo of Star in that exact scene, like, anger on her face about to blast a bitch. So it sounds like the very obvious implication of the clip, because the clip doesn't cut at the end of a scene, it just cuts with Star and Marco looking at the play. Mm-hmm. They're very obvious implications.
Something else is going to happen in the play that makes them mad, and we can maybe make some assumptions about what that might entail.
It has something to do with probably Marco or Tom or both. Something about that, right?
Yes.
Who knows?
It's going to talk about
maybe
how Star's an evil. Star's an evil polygamist.
Right? Maybe it's because if we're thinking about what the Mumin, they could play it as a comedic thing where the Butterfly Follies cast is nearly omniscient about the events of season 3, just as a joke. Right. Or if we were just talking about specifically what random humans might know, they might know that she left the kingdom temporarily to go try and save Marco and like lampoon that. It's monster love all over again, right? Because Eclipse left the kingdom to go save Globgor, and maybe they'll portray it like that.
Maybe,
but we're expecting something like that.
There's actually something more important at stake here.
Okay.
So what we have here is having a play inside of a show, in this case, is often terms referred to as a vis-a-vis, which is French for shielding to shield, and is often used for when a piece of media inside of another piece of media is used to make some sort of commentary on the original piece. This is something commonly used by a little-known fellow by the name of Shakespeare. So what I'm saying here is Star versus the Forces of Evil is on the level of Shakespearean drama.
Exactly. And,
it's factually true because they both have the same trope in it. It's a fact.
Exactly. And, for any of you that are familiar with something that I think a lot of people would agree is better than Shakespeare, Avatar The Last Airbender.
Oh, yeah.
The Ember Island players and that. And not only that...
that's one of the greatest episodes of Western animation ever made.
Yeah, and in some cases, the vis-a-vis thing, you get... the play within a play is sort of only there for the audience in some cases.
Yeah.
But the Ember Island players case was... the characters in the show itself had a very, they gained direct development as a result of watching this.
Yes.
And that's probably
I feel like this is going to be like that, but since it's not the whole episode, it's part of a bigger episode. So it's not going to be quite to the same level. And honestly, I think that's just one of the best uses of that trope ever. Like, I've read Hamlet. This play in a play is better. Like, you can fucking quote me on that.
So, anyway.
Ember Island Players is better than Hamlet.
So, looking at more stuff that we know about... so we can say a couple other things. The shots of Star and adult Marco from the promos, which show Star's lusting over the abs once again, but also she's really like she's hopping on him and going to defend him, and they're it's just ooh, but it's just
illegal ooh-woos.
So it's those are from episode 4A Ransomgram. We know that.
Yes,
it's confirmed.
Yeah.
There's actually a director of the show that put a shot from it, like a really funny smear frame of it had to start with 4 eyes because of the smear frame. It was really fucking funny.
Yeah, it's really great.
But instead it was from Ransomgram. So it's just interesting. Just I don't, because we saw she checked for Marco's absent divide, like, I don't put it past them to have Star doing all of that in a situation where there were still some unresolved stuff with Tom and Marco going on, but it's still, it's raising a little bit of a red flag.
Yeah, maybe
also,
a little bit.
And then, so we know that Star and Tom, or I shouldn't say we don't 100% know it, but there is a shot in the leak that shows this particular special effect of a ball of energy on top of a background of a house, like a lake house in a lava lake in the underworld.
Yes.
And we have shots from the promo of Star and Tom on a underworld beach, and they use that same energy ball. So, Lake House Fever, it makes too much sense.
Yeah.
Whether or not that is the only time Tom appears in this part of the show, I don't know. But we know that Star and Tom are appearing together and having some scenes together in Lake House Fever.
Yeah.
And Tom looks kind of sick or physically, it's Lake House Fever. Maybe it's...
He's down with the sickness.
Yeah, and,
Ooh,
So, moving, so we've got that. We've got those shots of Star and Marco lounging around on the couch eating pancakes, and the shot of them eating cereal by candlelight together, both of which have the same outfit for Star. They're made by the same animation studio. They might not be the same episode, but it sounds kind of likely.
Yeah.
You can't say anything. I don't want to jump the gun too definitively on it and be like,
I'm going to jump the fucking gun. Star and Marco are going to be dating and kissing by the end of this 8 period, and at the end of the show, they're going to get married.
Okay, by the end of this 8 period, yes, but the thing is, we don't know what episode they come from, so in the interest of...
I'm going to say that...
No, we'll get there, but
we'll get there.
In the interest of saying we don't know where they come from, we don't know what part
we don't know where
these
they go.
episodes is... Well, we know they are going to come, but... we don't know
That's
where.
fucking illegal.
But
wait, that's illegal.
No, it's okay. We just yeet Star to Hecate's Dimension for 8 minutes, and then there you go. It's no longer a problem.
Ooh, woo.
But anyway, so, we've got these shots that, I don't want to jump the gun and say...
I'd yeet myself in the Hecate's Dimension for 8 minutes.
Only 8?
Probably more like 30 seconds.
Yeah, there you go. I worked it out. The math on it is 1 millisecond in Hecate's Dimension is 16.666 so on minutes in 1 millisecond in real time is 16.66 whatever minutes in Hecate's Dimension.
Interesting.
So, 1 millisecond a quickie, there you go. Anyway, so the important thing is that we can't say exactly, I don't want to look at these scenes and say Star and Marco are dating in these scenes, but the fact that season 3 had literally one segment, which at the very beginning, of Star and Marco actually going out of their way to spend free time having fun together. I mean, Booth Buddies is the other one. That was Star trying to do that. So the fact that we're just getting multiple scenes of this, it says something about that something has definitely changed for the better. You can't say 100% what the status of everything is, but... how can we piece this together? Obviously, there's some pretty heavy implications, like eating together by candlelight. I mean, there's some cynical part of me that wants to say, oh, they only put that in the, the fact that it was in the promo means it can't be what I think it is, because otherwise that'd be giving away the game. But also, Disney Channel gave away that Toffee killed Moon's mother in the promo for Battle for Muni, which is a big reveal of the episode.
Yeah, I mean, also,
So,
another thing is, in my opinion, giving away that Star and Marco are going to end up dating isn't really a giveaway, because it's, at least in my point of view, if it doesn't happen...
in these first 8 episodes.
What the fuck?
Yeah, no, so the thing about it is... Basically, I'm not gonna get too preachy here, but because viewers of this may be coming from as many places, many places in the fandom, is I just want to state for the record that the idea, which is very, very common across all aspects of the fandom right now, that we don't know what has happened or what the show is building towards, and that we don't know in any sense where things are heading towards. And that because of this, that, a promo showing Star and Marco maybe on a date, while the current exact point in canon has Tom and Star still technically, being a couple. That's just forced bias and pandering. Here's the thing about that is, it's wrong in the first place to think that we have no clue of knowing where it's
Yeah.
going. It's
We have things that we...
It is blatantly ignoring the entire point of developments across
Yes.
season 3
Yeah.
and earlier to say that we don't know that.
Yeah.
And the idea that there is a dichotomy of Starco versus Tom Star, we don't know what the deal is. We don't know what's going to happen. So, you know, it's 50-50 where it goes from here. That entire dichotomy is wrong in the first place.
Right.
It's not, you know, it's not a case where, they had equal chances on paper, but Darren's a biased panderer, so Starco's going to win. It's the idea that it was ever 50-50 between them to begin with was always wrong.
Well, yeah, because that's not how writing a show works. When they wrote the show, they picked one of them. When they wrote the show, not by chance, but because that's how they wanted the show to go with the characters.
And nothing, and even within season 3, nothing within season 3 was ever portraying this idea that Star, you know, a lot of the explicit point of episodes of 3B was that Star always chooses Marco.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
When a situation arises where she has a choice, it's always Marco.
Yeah.
So they've never been hiding it.
Another point to make is that even though, we don't know what episode's going to happen, and then technically we don't know that it's going to, but that to say that we don't know that it's going to and that the opposite is equally likely is to ignore the actual character arcs of the show. You can look at character arcs, you can look at things that have been set up and say, I expect these things to be paid off in their logical way, unless the writing is completely awful and they decide to stop developing ideas for no reason when they are getting very close to their end game.
And I have enough
Which
trust.
is,
you know, I don't expect
fucking
this,
asinine.
I don't
in my
expect
opinion.
the show to be perfect. Like,
Yeah. This is not a bad show. Unless all their writers got severe concussions and brain damage between writing season 3 and season 4. There is no situation in my mind where some of these things don't come to their, what I see to be very obvious and clear conclusions.
Exactly.
The path to get from where we are to there is not certain.
Sure.
The time span is not certain. I can't say what episode, what minute these things will happen. But I can very confidently say that they will happen in this show. And I'm pretty confident they're going to happen in the first 8 episodes as well.
Yeah, and I can say some more about that, about why I think it might. So a couple, you know, the last couple things I want to talk about with just as a, like, sort of... So,
and then I have a final thought for
Sure.
us.
So we've got all of that. So piecing it together, we know Tom and Star are having an episode, or having part of an episode of these together in Lake House Fever. We don't know the synopsis, we don't know the context, but we just know they're spending time together in that episode.
Right.
And with Ransom Graham being right before that, and with the beach day photo being a thing in Follies, and, you know, I could totally see, like, Pie Folk is probably going to be, okay, at the end of Follies they find Moon, and then they spend most of Pie Folk actually getting Moon back. Like, I get all that. You know, Starco is not the only important thing to the characters for the show. However, the first episode, if there's one thing I've learned about how a show does things, is the first episode sets the trajectory for, usually it focuses on Star and Marco, like specifically like their relationship, is it gives the clear trajectory for where they are going. You know, in season 2 we had My New Wand, which also did some plot stuff too, right? Like it showed the setup of Star's wand, you know, on the fritz and the nature of magic, and but it, you know, you had Marco, who was dedicated to helping out Star with her issues, and Star, who it set up the fact that she had, you know, burgeoning feelings for Marco that were just kind of starting to come up, you know, as a result of some of the deeper moments between them in season 1. So it sets this up. It's like, okay, this is how things are going to happen. And it'll probably take most of the season to get there. So season 3, we had, you know, Battle for Immunity, of course, but then Scent was the same idea, where it showed that Star had these feelings, and that she knew that they were hurting her, so she, you know, by the end of the episode, she learns that she needs to move on, but she's still holding on to part of it. Like, you know, she still sniffs the hoodie at the end, and is like, it still kind of smells like him, and is, you know, always, it ends in the sense of, you get a feeling that Star has actually genuinely understood that she can't keep these unrequited feelings, and that she needs to move on in life from these feelings that are hurting her, but even though Marco's gone, she's still longing in a general sense for like his friend, his companionship.
Right.
And then at the same time, you have Marco who he's not willing to talk about it. He's willing to leave Muni, but there's the hint at the end that there's something more drawing him back.
Mm-hmm.
And that really effectively sets up the core, Booth Buddies. You can literally directly say the entirety of Set to Booth Buddies, which is like, it's only 13 episodes on paper, but you still, you have its Star clinging a little bit to the idea of Marco, and Marco being drawn back, even though he thinks he's ready. Like, the entire catharsis of Booth Buddies, you could literally say it's the catharsis of Scent. Not even, like, it's the catharsis for the whole season, but Scent tells the story pretty effectively.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, what I'm looking at here is, on some level, and I'm I like to think of things as like a bell curve, right? Like, for what could happen. So, on one end of the curve for, the slowest, most, the slowest end of it would be that, you get like a little bit of, start looking at the photo and being like, I like, or like looking at the photo and being like, yeah, Marco's really cool. And then like nothing really happens. And then Lake House is like the breakup, which is kind of uncertain. Like, okay, we're breaking up. Oh yeah, maybe I do have feelings for Marco. And then that basically doesn't like, episode 8 is where they admit it, and then they probably have, big moment. And basically by the end of episode 8, there's still pretty much a thing.
Right.
But it takes the whole way until then to even get to the point of them figuring out that, 100% they have feelings for each other. So that's on the far slope.
Yeah.
So the one comment I want to make about why I don't think it's going this way is, given that the first episode usually focuses, not entirely, but as part of its focus, hones in on setting up the trajectory for Star and Marco's relationship arc for the season. It seems likely to me that the first episode is at bare minimum, for the season 4 arc for Star and Marco, I think it is patently wrong at this point to infer that there is anything left that needs done with regards to Star and Marco developing feelings for each other. Now, you can definitely make the argument that there is some realization for Star that needs to come out, right? Like, realizing those feelings are there, but they're there. And in my mind, it is not part of Season 4's arc from start to end that doesn't need to spend time on that. So, with that in mind, if Episode 1 of Season 4, as I would expect it to be, is going to involve setting up the Season 4 arc clearly, one would imagine that if some significant, quarter to third of the season arc was going to be Star developing romantic feelings for Marco, that Episode 1 wouldn't really go anywhere with it. And the fact that we have Star already hanging off of Marco and being totally affectionate with him in Ransomgram, that we have this thing with the beach day photo, to me it seems really likely that since we can infer that the developing feelings is done, and that it's just a matter of realizing it, then if developing feelings is not part of the Season 4 arc, and Season 4 arc is, conceptually speaking, them acting on it, then Episode 1, to me, needs to do a fairly decent amount of work to set that up, right? Like, Star just kind of being like, looking at the photo and going, do I feel something for Marco? And then just ending it on that doesn't do that job effectively. It doesn't establish the tone of where we're at now as, where we're gonna go from here. It just kind of doesn't do anything. It just, has Star vocalizing nothing meaningful, nothing that meaningfully pays off from Divide and Conquer or Booth Buddies at all. Yeah. So, and where I'm going is, taking it a step farther from this is, if we're assuming that Episode 1 is maybe doing something more significant, because once again, if we assume that they don't find Moon in Episode 1, like they don't collect her. Yes. By the end, at most, they figure out where she is, and it's a 22-minute episode, so way more than them looking is going to come in.
Yeah, that would be a very boring season premiere.
There's definitely something with Eclipsa, right?
Yeah,
there's definitely something with Eclipsa. There's a shot that we have of them looking at Globgor's crystal with Eclipsa, where she's in the dress that she's in Butterfly Follies, so very likely from there.
Yeah.
We had the beach day photo. You know, it's an outside possibility. I'm not putting any money on it, but if they're looking everywhere, that brings up the potential for them to visit other people in other places. There could be something with Tom in the episode. I don't know. But my point, what I wanted to get to was a Tom and Star breakup in Lake House Fever seems, to me, very disjointed with how Starco development should likely be progressing. Now,
Sure.
I'm not imposing a mandate that Star and Marco have to be kissing and dating by
a certain point.
I would say by the end of Curse of the Blood Moon, even if they don't use the words dating, boyfriend and girlfriend, it should be like they
Very much on its
they
way.
are romantic by the end of that episode.
I agree.
I will mandate that because that
seems just very reasonable to me.
Yeah, but it seems to me like something needs to be happening a significant bit earlier between them, and to me it just feels intuitively like if Tom and Star don't have anything before Lake House Fever, it seems very out of place with not only the details of what should probably be happening, but it seems out of place with Ransom Graham alone.
That seems fair.
Could it be, Swimsuit is a wild card. We don't know anything about it, really. We have no confirmed clips from it. Butterfly Follies has a lot of room for things. I don't know. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but
I do.
All right.
So, as you all know, I am an expert at seeing through the ruse of the evil Disney shills and the lies and misdirection of the show. I know what is really going to happen. We've been talking a lot about relationships. Those don't matter. We've been talking about Tom and Star. They don't matter. Marco is only a prop, in fact, in the true plot of this season.
I'm listening.
All right. So we have a clip. This is the most important clip in any of the promos that we've seen. It's Jana with her army of Marcos who say, "I am Okram."
All
Right? So what this means is, in the background of most of the season, we're going to see Jana using her army of Marcos to turn Quest Buy into her own kingdom. And she's going to overthrow the entire human dimension. And I was thinking about this because I know this is what's going to happen. I was trying to figure out how Curse of the Blood Moon fits in, and I figured it out. And I had a thought earlier. All right. Blood Moon. We were always thinking about the Blood Moon in its relation to Star and Marco and Blood Moon Ball. And this is a trick on purpose by the creators to trick us and make us think it's about relationships. What it actually is it's a Blood Moon, and we need blood for the Blood Moon god. So Jana is going to sacrifice hundreds of Marcos on an altar of moonstone.
Who are related to the Blood Moon. So
it's very useful. It's very good, high quality blood. And they're going to sacrifice these Marcos on an altar to summon herself to gain masterful powers. And the rest of season 4 is going to be about how Star, Marco, a few remaining Marco Okram clone things, maybe Tom, maybe some other characters who no one gives a shit about, are going to work together to stop this evil new empress of the entire multiverse.
I like it. I see no problems with this.
Right, and I think that's just it for it. There's nothing else to say after that.
Coming to you on Disney Channel, rated TV Y7.
Mm-hmm.
Look for it later this March.
Yep.
Anyway, so the and we've got, like I said, the other, we don't know exactly where to place them, but we've got the shots of, Star and Marco eating cereal and lounging on the couch eating pancakes. Again, I don't want to say that this means they are dating, but
they're moving that way.
We have enough scenes of them.
They angling for it.
Yeah, they're angling, and we have enough scenes of them in these promos that show that they're just back to being as comfortable, if not more comfortable, with each other than they ever have been. And while, on one hand, I would actually say, it has been shown in the show that even when there were tensions, even when Star was dating Tom, even when Marco was dating Jackie, they were never shy to be comfortable around each other, right? I guess the way I'm going with this is that in Season 2, neither of them really interpreted in season 1, there was really no romantic development between them, so they had all these close, emotional, intimate moments and never thought anything of it. Like, that was just fun. Friends can be close, emotionally intimate. In season 2, Star was trying to pretend she didn't have feelings for Marco, and Marco was a dumbass. So when they have all these moments together, that it just doesn't ring as anything. And in season 3, we saw in Deep Dive where Marco blushed during the hug. So he was feeling, like, he understood that he was feeling something different about those things. Maybe than Star was, just because Star was convincing herself that it was fine and Marco was just her friend, whatever. But now that we're past the point where both of them 100% know, the whole conversation in Booth Buddies is that things are different and they can't run from that now. In season 2, they ran from it. Like, that was, I could talk for an hour about the parallels between the end of, like, the last couple episodes of season 2 between Star and Marco and season 3, like Booth Buddies and Divide and Conquer. There were so many direct, like, shot-for-shot parallels. But the point being is, it's very clearly that they both recognize that things are different, regardless of who's dating who, or regardless of how, if Star is, in her mind, stating clearly, I know that I'm in love with Marco. Regardless of any of that, they're both totally conscious of the fact that things are different, and that, Divide showed that they had the hug, and then when someone barged in on them, they were, like, stammering and blushing. So they're feeling the fact that things are different now, which to me just says, if we see these shots of them, and on paper that doesn't have to mean they're dating, and it does not have to mean they're dating, but there's a really different context where if they were just trying to, if Ransomgram and the cereal thing and the pancake on the couch thing were happening before they had talked about stuff and before Star talked to Tom, both of them should, in their own characters, we know that they should understand the connotations and the feelings there, that if they have these moments with each other, they should no longer be oblivious to potential connotations of them. So just the way I'm seeing it is the fact that we're getting a bunch of different scenes from different episodes of the two of them being super close and comfortable around each other and being willing to be very affectionate with each other is just, it doesn't have to mean they're dating, but to me it has to mean it's post-resolution of the of formalizing, like, okay, we've resolved the situation that led to these tensions, we want to move forward from here. Another thing is, we don't know for sure, but we think that the scene with Marco babysitting Meteora and Star in the princess outfit is from Surviving the Spider Bites, because there's a shot from that background designer thing that has what looks like Star with an updo. So there's like so this is just my personal favorite theory right now, is that however exactly things progress, whether the breakup is in Lake House or before Lake House, I think if the personally at this point, I think if the breakup isn't until Lake House Fever, we're actually going to get quote-unquote Starco before that. I don't mean they're going to kiss again. I just mean it's going to be a one way or another. I don't think it's going to take until episode 5 for Star and Marco to address the elephant in the room between them. Because as much as
there's too much guaranteed interaction between them before that to not have it come up.
Exactly. And as a general rule, while narratively speaking, Starco has always been more important than everything. And I don't mean that to the sense of Star, should be totally fine, literally, like, dating Marco and kissing him before talking to Tom. Like, that should still be a priority to some extent in her brain. But at the same time, the other thing that I want to... The one thing that I would say is, there's never been situations in the show before. There really have almost never been. I guess... is Star and Marco have always been 99% of the obstacles to themselves, not the other stuff. There's never been situations where you can say that the only thing stopping them from talking was Marco and Jackie or Tom and Star. That it was even in Star Crushed, or even when Marco left and sent, he didn't leave because of Jackie. He left because he was unwilling to address the issue. That was the core emotion involved. So the fact that Star is dating Tom will not, even if the breakup isn't until Lake House, the fact that Star is dating Tom will not stop narratively Stargo progression until then.
Yes.
I think it would, to me personally, I think the flow of things would work out much better if the breakup is allowed to happen beforehand, and then if Lake House is something like, where do we go from here? Like, you know, Tom is sick, and Star, being a friend, goes to help, and they decide, like, the breakup can just be, okay, we break up, we're not best for each other, fine. It's just sort of, Sophomore Slump kind of ended their breakup on just a sort of, it's not best for us, but that's it. Like, there's no closure, and Jackie kind of dropped off, so we didn't get any. But Tom is an actual character, so there will be closure. So Lake House could be that closure of, we broke up, now where do we go from here? How do we establish our friendship moving forward?
Yeah.
Anyway, and then the one thing is my crack theory for the cereal and pancakes thing is that however exactly it happens, by episode 6, they're actually, like, beginning to date. And that episode 6's stuff has sort of calmed down after Moon, after all of this, and that they start out, they try to get away. So maybe they even leave Muni to go to the Diaz's house to eat pancakes on the couch and spend time together. And, you know, sort of, you know, it's a date, but it's sort of like a Star and Marco date, where they're just chilling.
Yeah.
And
that's the good shit.
And then Eclipsa, who has been struggling with actually trying to be queen here, calls them up and asks for help. So Star has to go help with some type of princess, you know, maybe it's tensions with the Spider Bites, because remember, Eclipse's former husband, King Shastakan, was from the Spider Bite family.
Right.
So maybe there's political tensions that she has to go princess up to help resolve, and that Marco is babysitting Meteora, and there'd be basically comedy where they're constantly trying to spend time together and just getting interrupted by all these wacky shenanigans of Eclipsa needing them to do stuff.
Right, yeah.
And then the very end is, because they're in the Monster Temple for this Spider Bite stuff, and at the very end is they find time to share cereal with each other.
Right.
So that's the Star Marco Tom stuff. That's where I think it's going to go.
Okay.
Curse of the Blood Moon.
Blood for the blood god.
So, Siri, the couple of things I mentioned about the dance before, I have a couple general theories. Some people have been speculating that maybe they need to complete the dance, like, because, the dance was ended early. So there's some, like, the curse is that the Blood Moon's going to do something bad if they don't complete the dance. Okay. I personally take that a step farther and say it's a debate where something, Globgore or some prophet, something leads them to believe they need to complete it for some unknown, contextually, I don't know, but some plot-related reason.
Sure.
And that the act of completing it is what actually triggers the curse in the first place. Like, if they had finished it.
That sounds very believable.
So, it's just the dance doesn't seem like a flashback, so there seems like a new one. So there has to be some weird sequence of events leading them to try to recreate it.
Yeah.
Just, it goes without saying that the Curse of the Blood Moon has nothing. There may be an aspect, I don't get me wrong, there very well may be an aspect of them being cognizant of the role the Blood Moon, the connection, the Marco's cheek marks, and the fact that, maybe the cheek marks on the photo will light up again if Star holds it. So I'm not...
Yeah, because those cheek marks still haven't been talked about in the show.
Yeah, there may be a discussed connection between Star and Marco's relationship in the Blood Moon, but it goes without saying that nothing in the entire show has at any point or will ever hint to the Blood Moon is the reason they are at this point in their relationship.
Yes. Okay. So, to summarize the events of the last hour and 36 minutes of my life, Starco's going to happen, the new barbarian chick is my new waifu, and I still want Hekapu to sit on my face. And I think that's going to be all for us today.
Yeah, I concur with the Starco thing. I'm not so much on the others, but just triple the Starco one for me. I'll say that.
Fair enough. All right, so I've been Port Dog, and this has been a massive waste of air. And
do we want to do our crack theories?
I already did my crack theory.
Oh, you already did your crack theory? But what about
your crack theory?
But the crack theory about the wedding, right?
Yeah. So the wedding is going to be...
By the way, just for the context, in the promos, there's a very quick shot where there's some monsters. The giraffe, the arm... I don't remember their names.
It doesn't really matter.
The Bearnicorn are, like, super excited over a wedding of some kind.
Yeah, it's 100% Hekapu and Eclipso.
I thought it was Hekapu and the Barbarian Lady, was where you were at.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's also true.
Eclipsa just got her husband back, dude. I mean, granted, I guess. Eclipsa.
Polygamy. So, yeah, I think we're just going to end on that note.
So that has been our first episode of Foray into Foray. We'll be back at some point after episodes 1 and 2 have aired. We'll have a lot to talk about, I think.
I'm sure we will.
One way or another. Because we'll have synopses. Basically, the way I see it is... Once we've seen episodes 1 and 2, and we have synopses for 3 and 4,
we can get a lot more of a better idea where this is going to go.
Especially plot, maybe not so much. Relationship stuff.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
All right, so, signing off. I've been Port Dog. This has been a mistake, and I'm gonna go drink. Everyone have a good night or day or whatever the hell this time gets uploaded.
Peace out.